Everyone, so I'm going to call this meeting to order at 12:33 p.m. And before we get started, I just do want to acknowledge that right now, Shauna and I are hosting this meeting from the traditional unceded territories of the Semiahmoo, Katzie, Kwantlen, Kakite, and Tsawwassen First Nations, otherwise known as SFU Surrey. These are the lands by which Shauna and I are hosting this meeting from right now, but we also want to acknowledge that as this is a virtual meeting, that many of us are calling in from a variety of different stolen and unceded territories, and that each of us should be recognizing that in due course and the respective lands by which you are situated on right now. And if you do happen to know which lands you are situated on right now, please feel free to share them. You can also find out which lands you're situated on at nativeland.ca if you would like to find that information out. And so we'll just begin with the roll call of attendance. And if you have your agenda in front of you, I'm just going to call on folks by their position. And if you could please share with the committee your name, your pronouns, and any access needs you might have. And access needs are anything that you would like the committee to know about your participation in the meeting, or if there's anything the committee can do to make your experience in this meeting more accessible for you. So I will start with the VP External and Community Affairs, Ishana.
Hi everyone, my name is Ishana, my pronouns are she, her, and all my access needs are currently met.
The Environmental Science Student Union Counselor.
Oh, hi everyone, my name is Grayson Bark, he, him pronouns, and I'm calling in today from Coquitlam Traditional Territory.
Thanks. Next is me. Hey everyone, my name is Gabe Leosis. My pronouns are he, him, his, and my access needs are met as well. We'll move on to Alexandra. And I'll read the comment in the chat from Alexandra. It reads, I'm taking the meeting from the unceded traditional territories of the Coast Salish peoples. My pronouns are she, her, hers, my access needs are met. Thanks, Alexandra. We'll move on to Joe. I'm not sure if I can hear you.
Oh, sorry, my mic was muted.
There we go.
Hi, my name is Gurjo. I'm calling in from the Matsqui First Nations unceded territories. My pronouns are he and him. My access needs are met.
Awesome, thank you. And Sunyan.
Hello everyone, my name is Songyan. My pronouns are she, her, and all my access needs are met.
Amazing, and congratulations on your recent election. I saw that. I'm really happy to see you here in the meeting today. So we will we'll move into item number section of our agenda titled Consent Agenda. And the consent agenda is just usually items that are uncontentious in nature and usually don't require a vote. And in fact, I don't call for a vote unless there's any objections to the items under the consent agenda. And so typically the chair will just ask, are there any items under the consent agenda that folks object to? And if there isn't any objections, we just carry those items by unanimous approval. And so is there any objections to, it looks like one item under the consent agenda, which is approving the minutes from the last meeting on November 1st. Seeing none, we'll consider the consent agenda carried unanimously. And we'll move into adopting the rest of our agenda for today. So I will read the motion, be it resolved to adopt the agenda as presented, and I will call for a mover. Is there a mover for the motion? Ishana moves. Is there a second? Does anyone want to second the motion?
I second.
Grayson seconds. Awesome. Is there any amendments to be made to the agenda before we adopt it? Ishana.
Yeah, I have one motion which I would like to add. I'll just give like a little bit of a background if that's okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so at the last meeting, I thought we had quorum. We didn't have quorum and we passed $650. This is still technically passed, but I want to make sure that we have quorum that it's passed because no one really like called the question that if we had quorum or not. So this did pass. I just want to make sure that's like fully passed since we actually did have quorum. So I'm just bringing this motion to like reaffirm that this money was passed. And both of the things were already like paid for as well. And the first thing was the snacks for the Transit Roundtable. The second thing was for karaoke night. So this is kind of just more like of an administration thing. Let me know if you have questions though.
So we need a motion to amend the agenda to add this to the business we conduct today. So Shauna moved that motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Alexandra seconds. Thank you so much. And now we'll open it up for discussion. Does anyone have any questions for Shauna regarding this motion? Seeing none, we'll put the amendments to the agenda to a vote. All those in favor, please raise your hands now. Fantastic. That's carried unanimously. Which takes us back to the main motion, which will now read, be it resolved to adopt the agenda as amended. At this time, I'll ask if there's any other amendments to consider to today's agenda before we put it to a vote. Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of adopting the agenda as amended, please raise your hands. We're all a bit sleepy today. Okay, that's carried unanimously as well. Thanks, everyone. You can lower your hands now. That takes us into the first item in our agenda, which is reports from committees. And we'll start with, it's listed as 7.1 on the agenda, titled Reports from the VP External Office. I'll pass the floor over to Shauna and she'll give an update on some of the work she's been doing in the Office of the VP External.
Yeah, so it's been pretty chill in my office right now. Some things that have happened, I feel like since the last time we talked, Transit Roundtable, really good turnout. It was really cool because a lot of the TransLink Enthusiast Club came. So I was really happy about that, creating relations with them. And then I also had karaoke night, which is actually like super awesome. The turnout was phenomenal. I'm really happy with like how things are going. It's pretty chill in my office, as I said before. Not too much to report on except for what else is going on. Oh, I'm working on food insecurity projects, which we will talk about later. And also working on federal lobby day planning, but that is basically it.
Fantastic. Thanks, Shauna, for your update. Does anyone have any questions regarding some of the work Shauna's been doing? That's great. Okay, we'll move on to our next item then, which will be the motion that we added to the agenda today, which Shauna has put in the chat for your information. I'll read the question out loud and then ask for a mover and second. So the title of this motion is Passing Funds to Reapprove Funds Previously Passed Based on Quorum Issues. Whereas there was an External and Community Affairs Committee meeting on November 1st, 2022, whereas $250 was passed for snacks and drinks during the TransLink Roundtable without quorum being declared as not reached, as the question for quorum was not called, and though the number of committee members was below the required to have quorum. Whereas $400 Canadian was passed for karaoke night at that meeting mistakenly without it being declared that quorum was not reached. Whereas both food and drink for both events have already been bought, be it resolved to reaffirm approval of $650 for both events and that it be treated as if there was quorum at that meeting. Do I have a mover for this motion? Shauna moves. Is there a second? Alexandra seconds. Shauna, did you want to give any background to this motion?
Yeah, basically I just didn't know that we didn't have a quorum. My bad. So just making sure that we like in terms that we have quorum when it is passed. Yeah, not too big of a deal. I also went over this with like the VP Finance, so it should be fine.
Any questions on the motion that we're voting on? Seeing none, we'll put the question to a vote. And so I'll ask all those in favor of the motion to please raise your hand. Fantastic. That motion is carried unanimously. Thank you, everyone. You can now lower your hands. And we'll move on to the next item on our agenda. That was the only motion on today's agenda. We can move on to discussion items, which will take us to 11.1, which is ECA member projects. Shauna, I'll pass it to you.
Thank you. Yeah, I think as I said at the last meeting, like November and December are super chill for my office. So if you folks want to do anything, like let's make projects happen. We do have, for those who are like new to the committee, we did have $10,000 in the committee. I think we're down to about $6,000, but you are more than welcome to pass funds for projects that you might want to do. Just some examples of things that we've done: karaoke night, transient roundtable. We did the water drive. Basically anything like externally, and always like come to me if you want help with planning anything. I'm more than welcome to make it happen.
Cool. Gurjot, do you have a question? Oh, was that from the vote?
Yeah, I just forgot to lower my hand.
No worries. Did anyone have any questions for Shauna on ECA member projects? Or potentially anything that's coming to mind for a project you might want to work on? Go ahead, Shauna.
You don't have to have an answer now, even if you like want to meet in my office or like want to grab a coffee and like go over something. More than welcome to. Just let me know. No pressure at all. I know that folks are busy with finals as well. So if you want to do something for like next semester and not this semester, we can also plan for that. But no worries, no pressure.
Awesome. Give it some thought. Reach out to Ashana. We'll move on to our next discussion item. We're at 11.2, food security projects.
Cool. Yeah, so I've been working on some food security projects right now. Food insecurity is a huge problem on campus right now, which we are trying to tackle. So some of that is asking the university like what they're going to do, because it is the university's responsibility to tackle food insecurity on campus. However, like in the meantime, I'm trying to work on some projects, for example, like maybe doing a breakfast program, which I'm working on with staff. Some other things I'm doing, reaching out to food banks. I know that SFU is working on a couple things. The only thing is that it's like not enough right now. So right now I'm still in like the beginning stages of like talking to staff, seeing what we can do. We want to put out a survey actually for students, because executives, so myself and the rest of the executive team, are starting Munchy Mondays again. So we're going to be handing out like food and things to students. So we're going to put out a survey to see what students we want to see at Munchy Mondays. And yeah, if you have any ideas on this, this is going to be like a much bigger project as well, because we're going to be working with other student unions like the AMS, hopefully CAPU, places like that, to see how we can battle insecurity and actually get the university to do more about it. But yeah, that's basically it on my end. So if you have any questions or concerns, or if you want to work on this, let me know, or if you have any ideas, we can definitely do something.
Amazing. Thanks, Ashana. Does anyone have any questions on food security projects? All right, we'll move on to our next discussion item, which is federal lobby days. Go ahead, Ashana.
Yeah, so that is something else I am planning for the SFSS president and myself, and then we're seeing if we can get other people depending on funds. That's basically, I think you folks know in the past, I think we talked about the provincial lobby days when Gabe and we went to Victoria and we lobbied the provincial government. Now we have to do that we're going to do that on the federal level. So right now it's just like brainstorming for what we want to lobby for. So some things that we lobbied for in Victoria were more funding for sexual violence prevention offices. We also lobbied for supports for students with disabilities. We lobbied for international students' rights. So we're kind of like in the brainstorming session. I'm planning logistical stuff in terms of like plane tickets, all of that. But that is in the works. If folks have any questions, I might bring a vote to the ECA if we have enough funding for like members to go. But just so you know, that will be happening probably February is what I'm planning for, but I'll keep y'all in the loop for it. But yeah, that's basically, I just want to let y'all know that that's happening pretty soon. Well, not, yeah, February, kind of soon.
Any questions on this? Okay. We'll close the session on that item then. And that's actually our last item on the agenda for today. It's a very short meeting. So just in terms of announcements, the next ECA meeting is going to be held on December 5th from 12:30 to 2:30 p.m. It will be hybrid, so if you want to come in person, we'll have the details for that sent out to members of the committee. Shauna, did you want to add to that? Never mind. So we'll move a motion to adjourn the meeting. Is there a mover to adjourn? Shauna, is there a second?
I'll second.
Alexandra seconds. All right. We'll put the motion to adjourn to a vote. All those in favor of adjourning the meeting, please raise your hands. That is carried unanimously. And the meeting is adjourned.
Thanks all. That was actually like a super quick meeting.